You've probably heard the story of the cap seller and the monkeys, right? Most of us heard it as a kid. But today, we're going to look at it a little differently. We're treating it like what it really is, an amazing case study in strategy and creative problem solving. Let's dive in. So, that's the big question we're tackling. It seems simple, but seriously, how can this old fable give us real-world lessons for dealing with challenges? Whether it's in business or just life, the answer is, surprisingly, a lot. Okay, first things first, let's set the scene. Before we can break down the strategy, we've got to understand this situation. So meet our main guy, a cap seller. You can think of him as a small business owner, really. His entire livelihood is literally in the basket he carries. And here's where it all kicks off. He's had a long, tough day. He's exhausted, and he decides to take a quick nap. It's a totally human thing to do, but this one little decision is about to change his whole day. And just like that, his peaceful rest turns into an absolute business crisis. This is where the real problem begins. So while he's out, his entire inventory gets, well, seized. But not by a rival or a thief. Nope. His assets are now literally on the heads of a bunch of unpredictable monkeys. Can you imagine that feeling? The shock, the pure panic? Waking up to find that everything you've worked for that day is just gone? The problem couldn't be more severe. And this brings us to a really fascinating question, one that goes way beyond this story. What do you do when you're up against an opponent you can't reason with? How do you solve a totally irrational problem? So, what's his first move? Well, he does what a lot of us might do. He gets angry and resorts to force. Let's take a look at why this was, well, a terrible idea. You see what's happening here, right? It's this perfect but completely useless tit for tat. He escalates by throwing stones, the monkeys just escalate right back, throwing mangoes. He's getting nowhere fast. So the big takeaway here is that trying to muscle his way through this was a complete failure. All that force just created more chaos. He hit a wall, strategically speaking. His first instinct was just plain wrong. But then, something clicks. This is the turning point of the entire story. He stops reacting out of frustration and starts actually observing. And that shift from pure emotion to analysis is where the real solution is hiding. And here it is, the key discovery. He realizes this isn't just random noise. There's a pattern. They're not just reacting, they're mimicking him. This one single observation changes absolutely everything. So once he identifies imitation as the rule of the game, the whole puzzle unlocks. Their behavior isn't random at all. It's predictable. And if something's predictable, well, you can use that to your advantage. This is a massive shift in perspective, isn't it? He realizes he can't change the monkey's nature. They're going to imitate, that's what they do. But what he can change are his own actions. The solution isn't out there with them. It's with him. So armed with this powerful new insight, the seller comes up with a whole new plan. It's not complicated, it's actually beautiful in its simplicity, and it's all based on what he just learned. And look at this beautiful four-step process. First, he stops the useless fighting. Second, he correctly identifies their pattern. Third, he decides to leverage that pattern instead of trying to break it. And finally, he makes one calculated move designed to be copied. Genius. And what do you know, it works like a charm. He provides the model, and the monkeys imitate him perfectly. He turned their very nature into the tool he needed to solve his own problem. It's brilliant. And just like that, the crisis is over. No more fighting, no more chaos. He just gathers his inventory and walks away. The problem wasn't just solved, it was elegantly outsmarted. So, after all that, what's the big lesson? What's the real takeaway from this little case study? You know, the story itself gives us the moral, and it just perfectly sums up everything we've talked about. The seller's stones, his weapons, were totally useless. It was his wisdom, his ability to just stop and think, that actually won the day. And that's really the point we should all remember. The best tool for solving a problem isn't always more power or more effort. A lot of the time, it's just the willingness to see the problem from a totally different angle. So, we'll leave you with this question. Think about a challenge you're facing in your own life right now. Is it possible you're just throwing stones? What could happen if you stopped fighting the behavior and instead just tried to understand it? Like the cap seller, maybe all you need is a change in perspective.